just a few little tips here on mentoring. A mentor should think of himself as a facilitator. You're not a teacher, you're not a trainer. This is something that I have had to unlearn myself because I am an educator and I tend to keep teaching people rather than facilitating their learning. Sheena, I see you've raised your hand. Can we do questions in the end? I'm almost done. And after that, if you can do the questions in the end. Is that okay?
Dr. Rebecca, yeah, so the questions will be done in the end.
In the end, that's fine?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so continuing this, you need to think of yourself as a facilitator. You are not really vomiting out knowledge and information for your mentee, right? You are encouraging your protege to find resources and you're giving them some experience and wisdom on a topic, right? That's what differentiates, again, mentoring and training. Training is very rigid and formal, right? And you are just sharing your expertise, but mentoring is more of facilitating your protege to look at the right places so that they can learn what they need to learn on their own as well, right? You also need to emphasize questions over advice giving, not just giving advice, but asking questions to probe into what your protege is thinking. Jesus does that very beautifully many times when he asks Peter, for instance, and he says, who do the people say I am? And he says, the people say you're Elijah, or maybe the prophet has come back. Then he asks him, who do you think I am? And then Peter says, I believe that, you're the Son of God, right? So when you probe and you ask questions instead of just spouting advice, you will make your mentee or your protege think for themselves. They'll be able to think for themselves, and oftentimes the answer comes to them from within themselves, right? You're just asking the right questions and helping them see the big picture. Then you sharing your experience, you have to share the lessons you've learned, share your advice, and you also have to emphasize that your experience might be very different from theirs, okay? So you need to emphasize where your experience can match their situation. Not everything about your life might be compatible with their own, right? So always, again, in a spiritual setting, before you start a mentoring partnership, pray about it. Pray for guidance, ask the Holy Spirit to fill you with his wisdom so that you can really understand what the other person wants, what he is looking for. Okay, writing down, answering all those questions in our GROW model is one thing. Okay, people write down goals and all of that. But you also get a supernatural wisdom from God. As Christians, we do believe this, right? So you need to pray about it, ask God to give you the wisdom before you can start mentoring somebody so that you are relevant to their context and their situation. Resist the temptation to control the relationship, okay? Let the relationship go sort of at its own pace, okay? And let the protege be responsible for his growth, right? Sometimes mentors, we tend to get really, we are overdriven, okay? And we start micromanaging the mentee. Micromanagement is not a good thing. Even in an organization between a manager and a subordinate, it's a really bad thing in a mentoring partnership, okay? You tell your mentee, okay, you do this, you go check this website out, okay, you read about this. You cannot keep calling them every other day to say, hey, did you do it? Did you do what I told you to do? Did you read about this? Did you write this down? You cannot micromanage them, okay? You cannot force anybody to be your protege. They should willingly want to do it. They should acknowledge that they want to be a mentee, okay? So don't try to force the relationship, control the relationship. Let them do it at their own pace, okay? Help your protege see alternative approaches. Give them different options that they can use. Build their confidence through feedback. Sometimes people are afraid to give feedback, but oftentimes a mentee wants feedback. They want positive feedback, and that's why they are with you. They want you to be honest, okay? Give them feedback, but tell it to them in love, with grace, respect, and love, as the Bible says, right? And continue to encourage, inspire, and challenge your protege. We always talk about the 3 C's of mentoring. The 3 C's of mentoring is consulting, counseling, and cheerleading. Consulting, counseling, and cheerleading. You're a consultant, that is your first job. You're there to give advice, share your experiences. You're also there to counsel them in emotional distress when they need counseling. And importantly, you are there as an encourager to cheer them on to achieve their goals, right? So those are the 3 C's of mentoring. So again, I just want to end with mentoring the mentor. I told you that a mentoring partnership, it's always better to have a third person watching the mentoring partnership, just keeping an eye on it to see what is going on, so that there is no abuse of trust, there are no negative effects. Also for the mentor himself, right? To gain knowledge, to gain new ideas, fresh insights, it's good for him to have a mentoring coach, right? So a mentoring coach usually will meet with a mentor once in a while and make the mentor debrief. Debrief meaning he sort of explains to the mentoring coach what is going on with his mentee. Now keep in mind about confidentiality. The protege should be aware that there is a mentoring coach, right? You should be saying that, okay, listen, I am being mentored by my pastor, so I would have to debrief him on this if you are going to be mentoring somebody else. And they have to be okay with that, with a third person having some idea about what's going on here. The third person, the mentoring coach, does not have to know everything that is going on in the mentoring partnership. He does not have to know everything that is being talked about, but he has to have an idea of what is going on here. Then you need the mentoring coach also to reflect on your mentoring practice and give you feedback on whether you are doing a good job and or how you can do things differently. Sometimes mentoring partnerships, they tend to get stuck, right? The recent person that I was mentoring here through our Toronto Employment Council, we were stuck because she was a new immigrant. She came to Canada. She's a HR professional. And so I was matched with her because I'm a HR professional to mentor her to get a job in her own field. But as soon as she landed here, this terrible thing happened. The pandemic started, the lockdown started. So companies have frozen hiring. Nobody is hiring anymore. So not just for me, for many of us mentors, we have regular meetings. Many of us are stuck. We don't know how to proceed because they are not able to get jobs. They are not able to, they are sort of stuck over here. They are in a limbo, so to speak, these new immigrants whom we are mentoring. So this happens, okay, when you have a third person, when you have a mentor to mentor you, you can always talk to them and get feedback from them about what you can do differently. Maybe if you feel that your mentoring partnership is not going anywhere, try talking to your mentoring coach and they might have fresh insights on what you can do differently, right? Okay, so I'm going to end with that. I have my email here. If anybody wants to email me with questions, you're free to do so. For questions, we can take questions now. I'm going to stop slide sharing. I hope I was visible and audible to everyone.
Yeah, Dr. Rebecca, yes, you are visible and DVD was also visible. Thank you for that talk. Jabba Jyoti had reached out to me during the talk that she had a question, so I'm going to unmute her. Yeah, Jabba Jyoti, your question.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek. Hi, ma'am. This is Jabba here.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Ma'am, my question is that, like, since I'm a student, my teacher, she used to always say she was a mentor, and we used to go and talk to her. She used to listen to us and give some sort of solutions. And there was one instance where I couldn't sleep for around 3 to 4 days constantly. But some personal things were going on in my mind. So I reached out to her. I texted her because of this lockdown. I texted to her. And to my surprise, she didn't respond to that particular message. She didn't respond anything. Next day, she sent me another work of my college thing, which I had to do. I felt so bad just about that work, what she wanted me to do. About that, just was the content, what my problem was. Till today, she didn't even bother to ask me one thing, how are you? So I felt so bad whether she's not interested to converse with me or something. And even some of my friends also used to tell me, not only with you, she's with everyone the same thing. She used to listen to you and come and give examples. She won't mention your name, but she just try to give you an example, like something happened like this to one person, and we can easily think that girl is none other than this particular person. So like I'm not able to trust her more when she asked me to tell, okay, Jabba, you can tell me anything. I feel like let me not tell her, let me just keep quiet about it. So what I can think about it, like I don't know.
Yes, Jeba, I'm so sorry you went through that. It's unfortunately, you know, people gossip, okay, and it's sad because a teacher is in a position of authority over you, and you tend to trust a teacher, and students often they tend to look up to teachers, and when the teacher gossips about them, you know, it's a betrayal of trust, and I'm sure you were very hurt by it. But again, as I was saying, these are all the negative effects of mentoring. You know, this lady, she was sort of she abused your trust, and she was going around telling people about you, and she was not there when you really needed her. Yeah, that's not a good thing. I would always suggest, you know, instead of blindly trusting people in authority, whoever it is, whether it's a teacher or a pastor, we tend to trust people blindly when they are in that position of authority over us. But instead of blindly trusting, get to know them first, okay? At least, you know, don't tell them anything too intimate to begin with. See how they are handling the information that you're trusting them with, and then go ahead, you know, and get into a closer relationship with them. I myself, being an educator, I have mentored a lot of my students. Formally, we mentor to graduate students when they are doing their graduate dissertations. We mentor them. That is more formal mentoring. But informally, also many students come and knock on our doors, and you know, they want to talk to us. They tell us about their problems in relationships with a boyfriend, with a girlfriend, problems with work, etc. So it's very, very important to keep that confidential, and you know, you should not break the trust that you've been entrusted with. So what your teacher did was really wrong. So my suggestion going forward in the future, don't trust anybody blindly. You know, just feel your way before you start sharing intimate details. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. But this is not like on spot I did, but almost like 2-3 years I knew her, and then I tend to share with her. So I feel really bad about it. I was like, let me not talk anything beyond that. Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Dr. Rebecca, Shiana said that she clicked the raise hand icon by mistake.
I'm sorry,
Shiana mentioned that she clicked. Shiana mentioned that she clicked the raise hand icon by mistake. So,
by mistake.
Yeah.
It happens all the time with students. Yeah,
right.
With my students. Yeah. Okay.
And
That's okay.
I haven't gotten any other questions in my chat yet, so we'll wait for probably another 10 seconds just to see if somebody has a question.
I think somebody wanted my email on the chat.
Yeah, if you could just type that on the chat, that would be great.
No, that's fine. I'll be sharing the slides. The slides have already been shared on the WhatsApp group.
Great.
And my email is on the slides, so feel free to, you know, just drop a mail and I'll respond to your mail.
Sure. I have a question from, I believe, from Trisha. So I will just unmute Trisha and. Yeah, hi Trisha, you're unmuted. You can ask your question now.
Hi Trisha.
Hi. So my question is, when you get mentored, do you have to ensure that the person is of your same gender? Is it better suited if the person is of your same gender, if a female is getting mentored by a male? People generally tend to avoid that. So I wanted to know how we should approach that.
I
Because
would
there are a lot of
say,
people I
sorry,
look up
just
to
finish it.
who are males.
I'm
Many
sorry.
people in my industry, people I look up to are many people I look up to are males in the industry. So, but I'm hesitant to be mentored by them. So I just wanted to get some clarity on that.
Why are you hesitant to be mentored by men? Jisha? Hello?
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, why are you hesitant to be mentored by men?
Like in the Bible, basically it says older women teach the younger women, and if spending too much time with a senior male, if that is wrong, a lot of confusions with that
Can I
area.
answer that?
Sure, Lataka, yeah.
So what I feel is it's always good to be mentored by the same sex. It's really good because many times I have seen opposite sex people, even though they mentor after sometimes because mentor and mentee develop a intimate relationship sometimes. So that can lead to a problem. So so unless you know that person very well and you are able to discuss with him in public, not alone, one-to-one, it's always good to get mentored by the same sex. That's my advice.
From my point of view, of course, if you look at it from the literature, it is considered better to be mentored by somebody from your same gender, because you do have these barriers when you're being mentored by somebody from an opposite gender. But unfortunately, most of the time, you don't have a mentor of your own gender. Sometimes you have people of the opposite sex. That's why I said that you need to have a mentoring coach, a third person, keeping an eye on the relationship. I myself have been mentored by many men, whether it was when I was doing my dentistry, my management studies, right now as I'm planning to study theology. Okay, it's about really maintaining boundaries and deciding for yourself about whether you're comfortable with something or not. If you feel that that person, whoever it is impinging on your boundaries, then you need to back off from that and tell them, I'm not comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable with talking about it. Now today it's not that it's just these issues occur with the opposite sex. I've known cases where same-sex relationships also happen. That is also very common, maybe not in the Indian context, but over here in Canada it's very common to have a woman maybe hit on you or try to get too close to you through a relationship like this. So really gender and sex, it's becoming increasingly blurred these days. So the important thing is that you go with what you're comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with something, you tell them, I'm not comfortable with this, and you steer your partnership in the other direction. If the person is not willing to, then maybe you should step back from that mentoring partnership and not go ahead with it with that person. That's my advice.
Okay, thank you. That
Hope
both the answers
that
gave me
helps.
clarity.